And thank you for being here. We're starting this meeting tonight at 7:02, January 17, City Council meeting. And if we can start this with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand up, please. If you can remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members, please. Thank you. If we can have roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Ross?
Present.
Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Mayor Pro Temp Samar?
Present.
Mayor Moran?
Present.
For the record, council members, Mayor Pro Temp, and Mayor are in attendance.
Thank you. Are there any changes? We're going to have closed session at the end of a regular meeting. So at this moment, we don't have any closed session announcements. Any changes to the agenda, council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to postpone the item, where'd it go? The item on the Planning Commission, Planning's design and standards to the next meeting, please. Which item is that one here?
It's a public hearing. It's a public hearing.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, Ellie. Yeah, number 10, I'd like to request that we postpone that to another council meeting, please, to the next one.
All right, so just to clarify, is that item number 10?
Yes, item number 10,
The
yes.
public hearing, first reading of zoning text amendment?
Yes. I realize it's still a public hearing, but we can hold the hearing, but hold the decision to the next meeting? Or if you, I'm not sure if we can, I'd rather just postpone that to the next meeting.
Legal, can you do that?
Legal?
Yeah, you can postpone a public hearing to a meeting so long as you determine the date of that meeting at the
Okay,
meeting.
Mr. Mayor, when is our next meeting?
Our regular meeting will be next month
I understand, which day?
on the 7th.
I request that we postpone that to February 7th meeting.
So do we have to postpone the entire thing or just? we can
I'd
have-
rather just put the entire thing to our February 7th meeting if it's possible.
You can continue the hearing to the February 7th meeting.
And so we will need a second and the whole entire motion. So we have a motion on the floor. We have a first to postpone the entire public hearing until the first meeting next month on the 7th. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Ross?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Temp Samar?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you, council, appreciate it.
Further on that item, number 10, I'd like to see some of the items separated.
Okay, which items?
It's too much to read to understand all at once.
Well, not only that, it's, some of it is just intertwined with some of what planning, what we'd like to see planning do, mixed in with other things that don't have that much to do with
Which item are you talking about?
they would oversee. So I'd like to see Some of the zoning separated away from the site plan and design review.
Which item are you talking about?
Same item, number 10.
Oh, number 10?
In addition to moving the item to the next meeting,
Okay.
I'd
so-
like to see the separation of many of these items that are placed here. So if there's a way that when you discuss doing the next agenda, if you can separate some of these items out, they don't belong in one resolution.
Okay, if you can communicate that to Jennifer, that way it'll be easier when they work on it and they send us the draft, we can look at it and it'll be easier. But
Thank you.
if you can CC me on that too as well, that'll be okay.
Thank you.
Would that work? Okay, thank you. Is there anything else on the agenda? Are there any other changes on the agenda? Okay.
I'd like to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Consent, I just have a question on item number 5 and number 6.
Okay, so we can do that once we get to consent? Is that
Thank
okay?
you.
All right, no problem, thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you. So do we need a motion to approve the agenda as stated? No? All right, that's fine. Okay, next we have citizen comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. In accordance with state open meeting laws, no action will be taken by the city council this evening. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the city council as each item is brought up for discussion. First, we have award presentations and proclamations. We have a presentation by Kyle Loretto, Division Programs Manager, MCR WMA, and Philip Moinolfi, Senior Project Manager. Consultants in regards to SB 1383, Highway 59 organic waste, transfer processing and operations update. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, I'm Colorado Diversion Program Manager for Merced County Regional Waste Authority, also known as the RWA. For those unfamiliar, we are the solid waste JPA made up of the county and 6 cities within Merced. Your mayor currently sits on our board and your city manager sits on our technical review board. The RWA manages all waste within Merced County through our 2 landfills at Highway 59 and at Billy Wright. With me today is Philip Moinolfi. He's a senior program manager with HF&H Consulting, who we've contracted with to assist us and our jurisdictions with SB 1383. And he's going to do a presentation for you today on some of the actions we are working on for Highway 59.
So I'm going to start with a quick overview of SB 1383. It was signed in 2016 by Governor Brown, and the intent is to reduce short-lived climate pollutants by 25% starting in 2022, and then 75% by 2025. It also aims to recover 20% of edible food that's disposed and recover it for human consumption here in California. We have a huge problem with food insecurity. So what that means for the average person is that organic waste that typically goes in your trash container now needs to be source separated or diverted from the landfill. And that seems easy enough, but there's a lot of programmatic requirements that come with this because it's not jurisdiction-specific percentage targets, it's statewide. So CalRecycle was left with programmatic requirements for everyone. So obviously, to divert this, we need education and outreach so people know how to participate. The city is ultimately going to be the enforcement arm of this starting in 2024, and we'll have to come out and make sure that people are complying with the state legislation. And then there's pretty onerous record keeping and reporting requirements. Basically, this is referred to as the biggest solid waste legislation since AB 939 happened in 1989. So it's a whole new regime here, and it's going to be a big change in behavior for everyone and a lot of work for both your franchisees and for the city. And starting in 2024, the city will need to start implementing progressive enforcement for people who don't comply. So if you're not subscribing or source separating, then they may have to come out and give you a notice of violation, and ultimately that has to turn into fines if it's not remediated. Next slide, please. So in terms of the RWA's role, in 2019, they contracted with our firm HF&H Consultants to put together a regional action plan. So there was one for the RWA, and then there was also one for each member agency. And as a part of this plan, we looked around within 150 miles and looked for any outlet where you could possibly take organic waste, with the goal being to minimize the cost impact to everyone, all the ratepayers. And what we found is there really was nothing. There was one facility that was seeking permitting that could potentially take it, but there was nowhere that was cost effective to transfer this material. So what we did is we issued a request for proposals at the Highway 59 landfill, and we cast a really wide net here. We were agnostic to the type of technology people used. It could be anaerobic digestion, windrow composting, anything. We just wanted to see what would be the most cost competitive and the easiest way to comply. So we received 3 proposals, and ultimately 2 were found to be non-responsive to the RFP. They didn't meet all of the qualifications and the responsiveness, and they didn't basically comply with the RFP process. And for process integrity, they had to be thrown out, which left us with California Wood Products, DBA Agrimin, and we've negotiated an agreement with them, which is being finalized. We took that to the TRB, and they asked that we go to the member agencies and inform member agencies and get commitments from other member agencies. Since you're in the middle of a franchise process, we're not asking for a commitment of your material today. This is just an informational item on where we are with this process. Next slide, please. So Agrimin was founded in 1972 and started composting in 1993. They have over 30 facilities throughout the state. We've toured several of them through this process to make sure that they were a qualified vendor. They have one site currently located in Merced County, partnering with Bowles Farms, and they have 3 other sites co-located at landfills. And this is actually really helpful because California permitting is quite a challenge. You're not just dealing with CalRecycle, but there's air boards, water boards, and everything else. And co-locating at the Highway 59 landfill really, it makes that more of a speed bump than a mountain. You know, if you were going for a full solid waste permit, that could take up to a decade. You know, a modification of the permit could be had in as little as 90 days at the landfill. So it makes it actually possible to comply at the legislative timeline that's been prescribed. They currently have no past litigation or notice of violation history. By all accounts, we've talked to their other partners, and they've been good tenants and partners to all of them. And originally, we had asked for a 20-year term length for the facility, which would allow for more grand facilities like an anaerobic digester, which would be amortized over that period. But due to the equipment that they're using, it's a 10-year contract term, which aligns with the depreciation schedule. So ultimately, that's the cheapest price. If we were to do a 20-year agreement, we'd have to be speculating about future costs and maintenance and refitting the facility. So we kept it at a 10-year, but there are options for us to extend mutually if we agree that's in the best interest of the RWA and the member agencies. So they proposed a 2-phase approach. The first one was phase 1, which is just going to bring everyone into compliance immediately. So food waste would be placed in a plastic bag, and then it would be source separated there at the Highway 59 facility, and food waste would be sent off-site. In phase 2, they would convert the current composting into a covered aerated static pile system, which is going to reduce the methane, the compost is going to turn over quickly, so we can get more material through a smaller footprint. They have a preventative maintenance program in place that complies with the manufacturer specifications for all of the yellow iron. I mean, the CASP system itself is a pretty simple system and won't take very much maintenance. And they're also going to act as a broker. As part of 1383, you have to procure recovered organic waste products. As we start taking all of this material out of the landfill and create compost, mulch, and gas, someone needs to be a buyer of that material. And you've been tasked with that in the regulations as being one of the buyers. So if you can't handle all the compost and mulch that's being produced, they have partners that are farms that could procure it on your behalf to check off that box in the most economical and practical way possible. And they also have bulk mulch and compost available to participating agencies who use the RWA, so you can do compost giveaways and for your residents in the community. So here's the pricing. In phase one, green waste composting would be about $54, and food waste would be about $60. As they start building additional infrastructure and they need additional staffing to do the contamination removal, that would the mixed organics, which would be your residential, you throw your food and yard waste in one container, that would be $66 per ton, and the food scraps composting would remain at $60 per ton. And there are a few locations that are potentially cheaper throughout the state, but by the time you transfer it there and you can actually get approval of the permits or the capacity, it pencils out to be about the same or more. In Southern California, we're seeing rates that are $160 to $175 a ton, and up in Northern California, it's not very atypical to see over 100. So price competition-wise, this is right there. As a part of this process, we also dusted off that capacity study locally. So we looked around at, is there anyone else out there who could potentially take this material? And the answer was, really, there's not. We found one permitted facility that could potentially take it, but there was no one else. So if you were to use that facility, then obviously there's not much competition if we were to try to bid it to one person. But obviously you're in the middle of a franchising process, so you may get some capacity from those proposers. Next slide, please. So currently there is a flow control arrangement in place with the MCRWMA or the RWMA, which directs the flow of all solid waste, recycling, and organic materials. Due to the diversion mandates, the RWA relaxed the flow control for the recyclables and the organic waste material in order to help serve the member agencies. If you can find a better deal, then by all means, that's encouraged. Some jurisdictions seeking to use an alternative facility must obtain approval from the MCRWMA, so essentially it just needs to be proven that it is in fact more cost effective. Obviously, as the RWMA is building facilities, they need to know who's in and who's out, so that way they can scale it accordingly and make sure that it's cost effective for everyone. Next slide, please. So with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Are there any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? All right. Well, I guess tonight you guys had it easy. Everything was well said, and thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And our contact's up there if you need questions. I always have the light bulbs on the ride home. So.
Perfect. Thank you. At this time, we will allow public comment. Is there any public comment on the phone? Any public comment in the chambers? Seeing none, moving forward. Next, we have announcements and reports. First, we have Supervisor Rodrigo Espinoza, announcements and reports.
Good evening, Council. After a while, we're back. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'm going to do a lot of things because, we've been working hard in Merced County and in all around Merced County, especially in the town of Planada, the city of Merced and McSwain, as you know, with all the floods going on. I think we all prayed at the same time, for a lot of water, and we got it. Unfortunately, it was all at the same time. And so with that comes issues, and, unfortunately, a lot of homes got flooded, especially first in Planada. That's where one of my towns in my community, just like Livingston, is, but a lot of residents are undocumented, are on farm workers, just like here, and, there's a lot more need in a city that's governed, independent like ours. But I want to thank, the council, the mayor, the interim city manager for donating your time to come out here. Paul, Mayor, Jason, Jennifer, thank you very much for all your support. I know the assistant city manager, no, not assistant manager, temporary manager has been out there several times, acting several times. I'm working, and all of a sudden she's back again with another load of more donations, so thank you very much. Yeah, the community appreciates it. I'm just, working as part of my job, wherever it is. When I'm here in Livingston, I try to support our community here in Livingston, and wherever, not just my district, I try to support. I've been driving around the area of Merced, so, we all in need. I think we got to come together and support. So I know many businesses from Livingston, too, that have been down there, Delhi, everywhere. I mean, as far as Modesto, have come down and, and donated and give us support. Our chief of police, with the support of all the public agencies, he sent police officers down there to support. We had a lot of looting going on, too, at some point, so I called for more support back up because, I was getting calls of the public safety and, without disaster and, it tends to happen. People take advantage of disasters to come in and take advantage of people. So, we did confirm a few looting locations. So, I don't know if they caught any, but we just want to prevent that, And with public safety, of course, other people complain that, there's too many cops, that we're not trying to get access during the evacuation to their homes. But, the next day we had a lot of support there, and they were being escorted inside their homes to get, the necessities out because they didn't have power. A lot of them, they want to move out, and go find a shelter or go spend a night at a hotel with the families. So, but I know the county has had the shelter from the beginning, and not everybody used it. Sometimes there's no privacy there as much as they would like, so they end up paying for a hotel or staying with somebody else. So, one of the things to move on to part of the agenda, I was reading what the council is, the committees, but I didn't see a representative from the council on the URWIMP committee for the groundwater committees in the county. And so I think that it's very important, even though I know that Tony is on that committee. I think that, one of the council members to learn as much as you can about groundwater and surface water. I think it's very important when one of the representatives from the council be on there too as well. So, I've learned a lot. I'm on the West Turlock Groundwater Sustainability Agency as well. I'm the alternate to the Merced, to the Merced not ID, but Merced GSA as well. So we learn a lot, and so that way, because we're out with the community, so make sure that we have a lot of questions, and with farmers as well, that we give them a little bit more information on what's going on in the state, especially when we had the drought, and I know that maybe this rain is not going to get us out of the drought yet, but if it continues raining, it might. But I don't think it's enough to recharge the groundwater the way it was depleted so much. So I think it's important. I just want to acknowledge the in Planara, the World Kitchen was there to support as well. They feed, they provide different kitchens around many parts of the cities, the counties, the statewide and the worldwide, where disasters happen. The Red Cross as well. FEMA was able to have a permanent mobile location there at the fairgrounds yesterday, and I've been fighting to have a location there so that they're present in Planada, and that happened today. So, after a lot of headaches and, so pushing the governor, pushing our state representatives, especially John Duarte representing federally, I think we were able to get them there. So we have about three tables there helping our citizens there in Planada. Donations are always welcome. You can contact me, and hopefully, if the city has a location here that people drop off closer, so they don't have to go all the way to Planada, call me, call the mayor, or any of you council members. I'm pretty sure that can help, with any type of, holding on to the donations, and I'll be happy to, every day that I go down, I've been going down since day one, so even, when all the levees broke, and I've been going every day. The migrant camps in in Planada have been used, but I know there's not a lot of rooms. There's about 40 houses that were available, and so those went up fast. 50-60% of the community is renters and farm workers. So a lot have been displaced. As you know, there's not too many places to rent. And so it's a mess. Landlords are taking advantage. If they don't pay rent, they're almost being kicked out. And some are deciding to still stay with their children there, putting them at a health risk, which is of course not healthy for them. And maybe it should be illegal, right? It's illegal. So we'll have to look into that too with the county. And so that is all right now. Next meeting, I'll probably have more information. So thank you. Any questions from the council or the public?
Council?
Yeah.
Is there a list or something that we could even put on our website of things that are needed?
Yeah, I'll be happy to text you, probably a short list that we can probably, if recreations helps out, and we'll put it out on citywide, and if people want to drop off here, if we can find a location to drop off, even maybe here during the week, I'll be happy to pick it up and take it down. So I've been stopping at the Merced Senior Shelter where the United Way has been collecting, a lot of donations, but I think they stopped taking them because I know sometimes they get overwhelmed. But I've been sending people, and on my way down, I pick up another load too as well. But thank you, Jackie. I'll text you a list, okay? Appreciate it. Mayor?
Well, thank you. I know that I was out there a few days, and we were able to drive through some of the streets, kind of look at some of the damage in some of the businesses. I mean, some locations were flooded up to 4 or 5 feet high. I mean, pictures and videos can only tell the story so much, but when you're there and you have 8 different big containers where people are getting rid of everything from, everything and anything within 4 feet high in their homes got flooded, so they got to throw it away. I mean, couches, beds, furniture, everything. So, so just think about whenever you're thinking about donating, what is needed. I mean, pretty much if you were moving into an empty house, that's what you would need, everything. So, at this time, kids, who knows if they're wearing the same shoes that, when they got flooded, so, but now more than anything, probably even tools, garbage bags, scrubbing, cleaning, chemicals, so when you're thinking about donating anything and everything that you need to move into a new house, basically. And then just to think about that, it's basically going to be months before they even get to, to fix everything up, so a couple of times I was planning only to be out there for a couple of hours. I ended up staying all day, because you see the need. I mean, even if it's just directing traffic or even if it's just handing out food plates, we didn't worry about eating until the food was gone. Then we go find food somewhere else, but we're grateful that we have somewhere to go. Yeah. So, volunteering, having those volunteer opportunities really kind of grounds you to be grateful for, everything we have. So.
Yeah, the post office was, in 2017, we had a lot of rain. We had a lot of mildew issues in the post office. The employees were having health issues, with asthma and other issues. And so this time it got flooded more. And a lot of the stuff, of course, gets messed up. And now it's can be permanently probably closed. So everybody's being directed, all their mail to Merced. Imagine Livingston, everybody having to go to Atwater. That's, probably unacceptable, right? So, the congressman was able to be there, John Duarte. And so he's, I've been pushing for 6 years since I went into the county to have a new post office over there, because they've been requesting a new post office, and nothing has happened. So hopefully, with this congressman, there will be a change. Imagine a river running down Main Street here. That was Planada, and there was a river. And when I got there to the fire department, which is on Broadway, when I parked for 10 minutes, I was able to get off. It was dry, and then 10 minutes later, it had gone up a foot. So I got all wet. My feet were all wet because I was trying to get out of my truck. So we had to move all the sandbagging from behind the fire department. So it just, I was there. I could come home, but a lot of people were not able to go home or anywhere and get their stuff, and they was evacuated at 1 o'clock in the morning. Some older senior citizens didn't want to be evacuated. The sheriffs had to go pick them up because, the water was already trying to go into their homes. So it was, and I think the sheriff's department and all the law enforcement agencies in the county, they helped out, including Livingston. So I think that it helped a lot, like I said. And sometimes law enforcement is seen like they're going into privacy, but they were just there to help. And we're just glad that like I said, it is bad, but like I said, it could have been worse. So thank you, everyone. Okay. Any further questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably go home because I'm coming back from Planada right now. So.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Good night. Next, we have city staff announcements and reports.
Yes, we have a staff report from pretty much everybody on staff. So we'll start with the Chief of Police, Chuck Hale.
The supervisor, good evening, council, mayor. The supervisor already mentioned it. Couldn't be prouder of our police officers and the work that they did in Planada and the McSwain area during the last 6 days. They never wavered. They volunteered and never thought twice about going to work. But I would be remiss to say that I wasn't amazed by the work that our Public Works Department has done in this city. We've fared very well. Our streets have remained open, and kudos to Tony and our Public Works Department. That's all I have.
Any questions from the dais? Thank you, Chief. I was out there. I seen the guys out there, and I had some residents later on, that they found out that I came from Livingston, and they came over and say thank you for, they seen our people out there and helping out and assisting, so they noticed and they're thankful for that. So thank you. Say thanks to the guys. Next, who do we have?
We'll go to Tony next, since that kind of ties in nicely with the last statements. Thank you.
Good evening, council, mayor. Our presentation is just as much as the chief and the supervisor Rodrigo did. So I'm going to start off my presentation with some pictures to show you what our crews have been able to do and keep our town from flooding. So this is what we've had to revert to keep people out. It was a little much to try to do 9 holding ponds. A lot of them that we have are fenced off, but some of these are parks. So we had to put up a lot of these barricades with signs. The one to the right is Fred Warden Park that doesn't have a storm lift station. So what you see there is we've got permission from MID to pump into the canal there, and we've been fortunate to not have it go over, so we've been really adamant about keeping it running, working with MID to make sure that we have enough water to get to them, and then when needed so, they would open their gates to open up and go to their main canal. Go ahead. So it's been crazy. Our crews, the first storm, it was just incredible. 67 hours is what our staff logged the first storm. That was about 8 Public Works staff. Some of them didn't go home till 2 o'clock in the morning. We did end up closing some streets that first storm. We also had power outages, which made it even worse for us, and some of those facilities don't have backup generators. So that park to the right is Joseph Gallo Park. That park has never received this much water in my 35 years here. That water almost made it to the parking. This is on Winton Parkway where I'm taking the picture, and the water just about reached across the park where the play structure is, and that was just incredible amount of water. Go ahead. So I went around that night after things had settled, and you're looking at Joseph Gallo Park, Don Meyer Park, same thing. Some of these parks, Arcalian Park turned in, we have 2 little basins at Arcalian, and it turned into one humongous pond that night. Go ahead and move on. So we're looking at some of these other parks, Don Myers, some of these other basins are basins that are fenced off at the Dwight, the sports complex. There were just unbelievable amounts of water. By the January storms, we're able to do a lot of preventive maintenance, a lot of just checking our pumps, resetting. Every time there was a storm coming in, I had staff coming out without, having an emergency. I would just send them out as soon as the rain hit, and they were out checking storm drains and checking all our lift stations. And this is the next morning after the first big storm. The one to the left is Arcalian Park. It was just unbelievable amounts of water. 10, I think that says right around 10 feet of water. This is the morning after the big storm. And I don't know if you could see way back to the walk trail, there's debris, and that's how far the water had reached that first big storm we had. Go ahead. So here's some more pictures of the facilities. Like I say, at the Fred Warden Park, anytime we never really got past that amount. We had 6-inch pumps pumping, sometimes 4-6 hours. The other facilities, we had staff just maintaining over and over, checking the pumps, make sure they didn't kick out, reversing them, make sure they didn't get any debris stuck. Go ahead. So this looks like nothing, but it's one of the most important things that our staff do. It's one of our lift stations, and this is one of the lift stations over on 7th and Peach that handles a lot of the flooded areas, especially the 5th and F. It takes water all the way from the post office to 5th Street, to 7th Street, to 8th Street, Hammett, and it takes all that water and pumps it into the canal. This is one of the ones that we're working on with Gouvet Engineering, looking into upsizing maybe the motors and impellers to see if we can get a little more water to pump to keep these areas, dry when it really, really comes down. We have 8 of these lift stations. I know I took a picture of one, but it's really hard to take pictures where we're out in the middle of emergency storms and rain. So You know, like I say, this is one of the most important things because when the guys get there, they're making sure everything's running, the power's there. One of the nights we had to set up a 6-inch pump, and besides the pump that the lift station pump, we also put in another 6-inch pump to clear the roads as soon as possible. So a lot of these roads that were flooded, usually by the next morning they were clear and open up. You know, so if it was a danger, we did put up a lot of road closed and flooded signs. The PD, we let them know, and they were helping us on those things. Like I say, there's another one that we're working on to upgrade. It's East Avenue Lift Station. East Avenue Lift Station is the area that gets flooded at the donut shop, over on Olds Avenue, and this one is also being looked at by Gobey Engineering to try to bring up the flows and try to not just bring it up to date, but modernize it, because that's one of the oldest storm lift stations. And then we do have one, like I say, in the works over at Fred Warden Park, that one that doesn't have a storm lift station, the one we are using a 6-inch pump to pump into the canal. We also are trying to, you know, streamline to get a storm lift station built. It's been in the works, but I think we're really going to look into pushing this project a little sooner. Go ahead. So when I say all hands on deck, we use everything and anything. We had our Vector truck. This truck sucks up water, clears out storm drains, sewer mains, but we ended up using this and a lot of 3-4-inch pumps all over town to keep some of these roads that were flooded. Whenever we had time, our staff was out pumping water, sucking water out, whether it was on, we even cleared some of the county roads out by Peach and Robin because it was such a danger, hazard, people coming into town. And this is what happens in the middle of the night when you're driving around. You may see flashing lights and our guys in orange and green, but that's preventive maintenance. Our storm drains, even though we're at the end of the leaves, we still get a lot of debris. I mean, we're talking about, you know, truckloads, trailer fulls of debris, these storm drains that get clogged up. And then during the week, our sweeper driver, nothing but hitting it, you know, all 8 hours a day, just nothing but debris dumping. And that kept the streets clear, kept the flooding to a minimal. I mean, yes, when we had really hard downpours, we would get some flooding, but as soon as, you know, we got them clear and the lift stations were pumping, we really didn't have a whole lot of issues like other towns. I mean, I think I've heard one home flooded so far in Livingston, and that's tremendous because of everything that I've seen, not just on the news like the mayor said. I literally went to Merced and I was astounded to see the flooding, you know, firsthand off the highway, and just the canal banks breached and just fields and fields of nothing but water. It looked like you were in the ocean just about. So literally our public works crew did an unbelievable job on these storms. Let me see what I got next. So like I say, you know, you see our lights out there and our staff, those drains, really important. Even though we've picked up most of the stuff, once you get these heavy downpours, the guys are out there cleaning the storm drains and checking drains. Go ahead. So with that being said, before we move on to this one, I just want to personally thank, you know, our staff. I mean, our staff, if it wasn't after hours or on call, during their regular working hours, we have staff. We have mechanics. We have streets. We have water, sewer guys. We have janitors. We have, you know, our streets and LMDs. all our staff, one way or another, was out helping, whether it was ordering sandbags. We went through 500, well, we're still at it, but we ordered 500 sandbags. We also had these crews, we just cleanup after cleanup. Our part-timers, our full-time employees, during the day, they'd come to work, do their job. After hours, our on-call staff, extraordinary job they did, because they were already told that if something happened, you come now before it gets bad, and when that rain comes, it comes hard. So for me, I'd like to personally thank all my staff and actually read their names, because you guys will hear their names, but I just want to personally thank Fernando Ramirez, Jaime Tafoya, some of the ladies in the office ordering sandbags, Adabel Partida, Adriana Vega, Dustin Cunningham, Fernando Carrillo, Ramon Trujillo, Ruben Del Toro, Jose Lara, Juan Prado, Celine Marquez, George Lara, Ramiro Torres, Xavier Jordan, Al Pacheco, Javi Trujillo, Alexis Jenkins. Our part-time staff, even though they are part-time, they did a tremendous job because they were out there no matter how much it rained, they were out there picking up. And we have Adam Langley, Lalo Resquetes, Bomaro Zurita, Anthony Duran, and John Luckshaw. And this staff is actually what helped.
You missed one.
Well,
Tony Avina.
yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to say. It takes one guy to help the community, but this whole team kept us from going underwater. We did a lot of preventive maintenance. We did a lot of cleanup. We did a lot of stuff to our pumps. We were, proactive. And by that, we didn't end up on the news, And because of that is the reason why I wanted to personally thank this staff. So we'll go ahead and move on to the little vandalism area. I think the last time I talked to the council, we had some issues with some street lights that weren't working. Well, we found the problem. A lot of the homeless live over in that area by the old railroad crossing and the old Highway 99 underpass and overpass.
Is that the one I mentioned to you?
Yes, it was. And it took a while, but we were able to get them all repaired. We fixed one here, fixed one there. We had to rewire. We had to pull wire. We actually had to get an electrician, but I'm saying they all are repaired and they're working, so that's a good thing. But these are some of the pictures of what we deal with when we come to troubleshoot some of our lights, and we have to deal with a lot of the homeless and trying to steal wire. Go ahead. And the other issue that we're having right now at this time is, our wastewater treatment plant. Our backup generator, which is about 20 to 25 years old, is having issues. So because of the thing being down now, we had to temporarily rent a backup generator, because that generator deals with all the influent water coming in, which is the headworks and the bar screen area, and then it heads out into the clarifiers. But right now, we had plans to relocate one of our old generators. Well, after Gouveia Engineering, working with our Public Works staff, is that generator is not allowable to use anymore. So we're working on a couple of things. We're looking at fixing our old generator temporarily, and also looking at the price of a new generator, because this is a very costly expense. So we'll try to do our best, but right now we're trying to get quotes for all the backup generator repairs, and also the price on the new generators. And from talking to Gouveia Engineering and their staff, one new generator is looking like 1 year out to order and get a new generator. So we'll do the best we can as far as either fixing temporarily fixing our old one, and at the same time look ahead and purchasing a new generator that will will definitely be needed out at the wastewater plant. Go ahead. And I know I was up here for a while, but I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of what we've been doing. I know it's been crazy for the last, month for Public Works. And this is all on top of, our regular routine maintenance, We do our jobs and then we go over and beyond and move staff around. That's why I personally had to thank everybody, because if you're a mechanic at the City of Livingston Public Works, you're not just a mechanic, you'll help. And these guys were wheeling out a big 6-inch generator and hooking up pipes to the lift stations to the canal. So, any questions?
Yeah, Tony, I just wanted to extend my sincere gratitude for you and everybody you mentioned on that list. It is because of your due diligence and your commitment to the citizens and the community itself that we didn't have anything severe happen. The pictures demonstrate the potential, and had anything breached over those edges, we would see ourselves in a very different light. So I just wanted to extend a sincere thank you to you and your staff, and also to the chief and for the participants that went and helped in Planada where it was needed. It's efforts like that that make Livingston very special. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I also want to extend our gratitude for all the hard work Public Works did. We heard nothing but good praise from public in general, saying that they were just really grateful that you guys were out there and they felt safe. And also to the police department, everybody came together. Can't ask for more. Thank you all.
Anybody else on the dais? Good. Once again, thank you. I mean, I know, I'm not sure if I'm the one that bugs you the most, but, I just pass it on. At the same time, I want to say thank you to the residents, because without them, even though we know where the spots are, sometimes, it's like them making us aware, and then I just pass it forward to you, and I'm sure, you do the same thing. But now I just, I need one of those vests. Yeah. I caught myself on 5th and F Street, directing traffic, because when the first storm, when it was flooded, and I realized I was wearing all dark, and that was not very safe. I almost got run over. So, but, same, I called the chief a few times, and they're like, I think sometimes, a couple of times, he was probably asleep already, but he made things happen. And then just more than anything, just making your department and your department aware of some of the, things going on in the city, but, people were sending messages and stuff like that, like, even though they were concerned at first, and then later they'll text back and say, you know what, thank you, they were out here, they were on it, so, the residents see that. So, and then once again, thanks for all the work that you guys did. And more than anything, all the pre-work before the big rains came. And that's exactly why, even though you were right, sometimes I would be driving around, I would see some of the areas kind of flooded, come back 15, 20 minutes later, and then, the water went down. And so thank God that, for all your work that you guys did, that we didn't get any more major damage compared to other communities. Thanks. Any questions from the public? All right, thank you. Thanks, Tony. Any more? Okay, we have Rec.
Yes, we have an update from Jackie on the recreation activities. Thank you, Jackie.
Because I have such a list, I put pictures to it so that you guys would have something to look at. Well, first of all, I just want to say Happy New Year, and I'm looking forward to a good one. New projects, new council, new everything. It's going to be a good year. All right, just next. So I have a number of things to report that we're working on, as well as the status of the Park, Rec, and Arts Commission. First of all, our basketball games took off, and our game started last Saturday. It will run through the last weekend of February. We've run into a couple minor snags, but in the midst of craziness, sometimes we really see how people shine. And we have the best community of parents that are willing to just, they put the kids first and they think about it, and then we just move forward. And it's really encouraging when we think, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And everybody's cool with what we have to do. So I'm proud of our community in that way. So our first youth baseball, softball registration next is July the 28th. It'll be on a Saturday, just so that people can mark their calendar. We do offer baseball and softball for kids 3 years to 14 years of age. Next. So next week, thanks to Jennifer for our connection, we are having our second meeting with Civic Rec. Civic Rec is a registration software that will make the recreation life much easier. We are going to be able to step into this century, and our residents will be able to do online registration. They can go and see if there's a park available, how much it is. I mean, it's a dream come true. So we'll be meeting with them next week, and I will certainly keep you guys all posted as to the progress of online registration. Next. So this next Friday, January 20th at 5 p.m., many of you have probably already got the email a couple weeks ago that it's the deadline for our community calendar. If you are in charge of a nonprofit or some other school community organization that you want to invite the community to one of your events, get that information to me by Friday at 5, and we'll get it on our community calendar. It's really neat because if, for instance, the Lions Club is running a breakfast, the fire department doesn't want to have their breakfast on the same day. So by coordinating all the dates, at least it gives everyone a heads up as to who, when, what, and where. All right, next. So this is the highlight for me over the next few years. Our Recplex is running on schedule. I thought I would give you guys the map. This is not the architectural map, but after many meetings and going with everyone, we've got the layout of the property. And so if you guys are interested, at our next Rec Commission meeting, we are going to have a full update as the status of the project with some pictures and also community input, because all along this grant has been done with ideas from the community coming together and saying what they wanted. So every time we go over there, it's so exciting. It's going to change the world for recreation here in Livingston. Because if you think about it, who within even 50 miles, I don't even know of a place in that Modesto doesn't even have anything like this. So we're going to be on the map, and it's really exciting. So one of the updates too that you guys need to know, that we did get the per capita grant that was approved by council for the application in 2019. So through this grant, we have got the funding to be able to set up the commercial kitchen with everything that we need to have it be a commercial kitchen, so it's really a blessing, and everything's just fallen into place. All right. Next, since we're on the subject of the Rec Commission, I do want to inform you that we have, we're going out for recruitment. We have 2 commissioners who have resigned and 1 who has given up their seat due to more than 3 unexcused absences. So we're going to go out to recruit and hopefully bring them back to 3 candidates at least, hopefully, on February the 21st and present them to you. Next. And then the subject for the millennium, the Livingston High swimming pool. I am working at council's request to get it opened this summer and back up and running. Since of COVID, it's gone away. And So one of the first things that we have to do is get our joint use in place. So looking into our joint use agreements, we have not had an update to our joint use agreement since 1994. So I did talk with Jason Perez at the district office, and we will be doing a living document over the next week or so. And we have addressed some of the issues at the pool, found out a little bit of good news, gave that to the principal. We're going to be working on it. So if everything, and it's not a simple, I just want you guys all to know, it is not a simple turn the switch on and the pool opens. There are many things that go into it. But with your help, with the district's help, with our department working, we can make this pool great again. So with that being said, anybody who's interested in being a lifeguard, of which we have to have, we will be running classes over spring break. So tell a friend and watch the website for more information. So we have our save the date. Our color run is set for April 1st this year. We have joined the Indian Chamber of Commerce, and we will be bringing to you a Happy Holy event at Arcalian Park in the middle of the fun run. So it's going to be really exciting. Watch Facebook and the website. I meet with them tomorrow, and then we'll have a price for you. We'll be going out for sponsorships. We'll be buying more color. It's going to be fabulous. We hope to have more than 1,000 attendees. Last year we had a little over 800, but we know with bringing this other event, it's going to be even more. So let's see, next. So the Centennial has been a lot of fun. The quarter trees, the Christmas parade, the Christmas concert during the month that I had not been to a meeting. It was all amazing. So now the elementary school district is teaching our history, and they will be coming to the museum the last 2 weeks of January. So as soon as I find out, I thought it would be kind of fun if some of our council members might be able to pop in during, maybe to a class or two just to introduce yourself, because, meeting a council member would be like meeting the president. So that'll be really special for the kids. And lastly, I just want to give you a heads up. I will be taking to the Rec Commission an idea about possibly changing the name of the Sweet Potato Festival. We're going to discuss it. If they decide to make the recommendation, they will come to you with reasons and a recommendation, and it can be discussed. And with that, ta-da. Any questions?
Are there any questions, comments from the council?
Jackie, you're awesome. You do a wonderful job. When is the next rec meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually even put it on there. It is the fourth Thursday. Did I put it on the slide? Oh, no, I didn't put it on there. January 26th. Thank you, Maria. At 6 o'clock in this very room. And Christina, I just want to say hello. I haven't met you yet. After, I don't know how long you've been here, but I've been out, obviously.
I haven't been here long. Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Well, Jackie, I really want to say thank you again. It's a lot of those things that the residents are asking for, you're working on them, and the pool is a big one. There's a number of them that have even, mentions like whatever you guys need. I know that someone said, and I think I shared this with you in regards to volunteers to be lifeguards and stuff like that. So, any volunteers just to even come out and be there, just make sure you guys reach out to the recreation department. And then if you guys have any other ideas, make sure you reach out to the council or to the recreation. And all we can do is ask, right, Jackie? Yes. What's the worst that can happen, right? So we'll make it happen. Thank you, Jackie.
So I do have 2 more staff updates, if the council will allow.
Sure, go ahead.
Miguel, would you like to go ahead and go next? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Moran, council members, city staff, members of the audience. I'm Miguel Galvez, contract planner. I have 3 items to report on. Number 1, the update on the city's general plan update. Number 2, a summary of the Planning Commission activities during 2022. And number 3, planning items on the horizon. First, with the update of the general plan. That effort resumes with the City Council Planning Commission workshop, which is scheduled for January 24th, next week, commencing at 5:30 here in this council chambers. The workshop agenda consists of 1, reviewing the purpose and content of the general plan, an update and overview of the project itself along with the timeline. It's going to include a review of the work that's been completed so far. It'll also include identification of the next steps. Some of the important things that need to be done are a tax sharing agreement with the county, adoption of infrastructure master plans, selection of a growth strategy, reaching out to stakeholders, and completion of the environmental assessment. At the workshop, the public and council and planning commission members will be given the opportunity to participate, ask questions, and hear what's going on. Again, we're starting off the update effort, again, resuming that. I would like to take a moment to really underscore the importance of this effort. This doesn't happen very often, and it's very critical. The city's current general plan is dated 1999, and an update is overdue. More importantly, though, the city's current effort to update its land use policy documents will serve to guide how the city should be developed based on current visions for the future. The general plan establishes growth boundaries, development policies, and lets Livingstonians know what the council and community sees as important in how we grow and live as a community. As council members, your vision and values will effectively influence the type of development that may be built, where it is to be built, and how it will be served with municipal services. As I mentioned, general plan updates don't happen too often, and a lot changes between adoptions. Having worked in the planning arena for over 30 years, much has changed and will continue to change. As I reflect on this, I want to identify some things that have changed in society since I started my career. Recently, I would say that retail centers are giving way to distribution centers. People just order online and it's delivered. They don't necessarily go to the stores. More people are working remotely and meetings are virtual. There's less commuting, you can see. More people subscribe to food delivery services. Time is important, so it's convenience. Others do go to eating and dining establishments really to socialize. So there's an outside venue where you can kind of meet and kind of reestablish relationships. Social media has changed how we received information. There's a lot of social media venues and people are using them. State and regional transportation dollars are invested more on mass transit improvements and services than actual widening of street projects. That's the new focus. It's like, why build wider? Let's just get more people using the systems that we have in place. As you heard earlier today, recycling of waste products continue to grow in importance. In addition, there are more opportunities for affordable housing through accessory dwelling units. More generations are living on a property than before. With the recent update of the accessory dwelling unit, we've had a huge increase, I should say, interest in the number of people that want to add additional units to their property for children, for in-laws, for grandparents, so on and so forth. But more importantly, generations are living more together because of the need for affordable housing. Small farming operations are becoming less economically viable. Most large farms are really taking over, but it's just hard to make a living in the farming community. Cars are going electrical. You have more charging stations. So these are some of the things I kind of see. We couldn't predict them, but
we don't want to get stuck with the old policies or policies that are stale. We need to really consider them and see what we can do to plan for the future. Yeah, as I say, changes are occurring, which in turn should take time to reflect on how we respond to these changes with the goal of creating a healthier and safer community where families can thrive and be healthy. Each of you in the council have the opportunity to contribute and to help shape a community of choice, I say, where people desire and choose to live, to work, and to play in, where today's current choices are reflective of what we desire for our children, our community. With this effort, you will be given the opportunity to share your visions that will help promote jobs, housing, and recreation opportunities where quality of life values are identified and a strategy to accomplish these attributes are well articulated. As I said, we plan to resume that effort here in these chambers next Tuesday, starting at 5:30. That concludes my report on the general plan. I'm moving over to a summary of Planning Commission activities during the last calendar year. The Planning Commission approved a triplex on 8th Street. It is currently under construction. It also approved the zoning ordinance to allow accessory dwelling units. As I mentioned, staff has seen a huge increase in interest in applications on development of these second units are starting to come in. The Planning Commission also approved an appeal to a staff determination for a site plan design review application for the remodeling of a commercial property at 1438 D Street. That renovation project has yet to commence. The Planning Commission approved the duplex 846 6th Street. That project is under construction. It also approved a truck stop complex at the southeast corner of Hammett and Campbell. The applicant at this time is requesting amendment to the middle parcel of that proposed truck, tire, and quick service restaurant, which also includes a truck scale. The proposed changes are considered minor and can be approved readily. The Planning Commission also recommended approval of another zoning code amendment, which was scheduled to be considered this evening, but it's being postponed. Lastly, under things that happen in the community, the build-out of the Manzanita homes along Hammett and north of Walnut Avenue has been completed. A lot of those homes were not only built out, but many of the people were at risk of losing their homes because of the rising interest rates, but we were able to expedite permits and make sure people were able to close their loans and close escrow and move in. But that whole subdivision is completely built out at this time. Moving on to planning items on the horizon, we have 8 items. 1, a master conditional use permit, general plan amendment, and tentative map for the development of a non-retail cannabis business park is proposed along Bird Street. It's a green zone project. That process is going to commence its environmental review project referral process. Number 2, a general plan rezone and street closure for the development of a city recplex is scheduled to happen this year. There's a triplex that's proposed on B Street. There's a single family that's being proposed on an undersized lot, so there's a special application for that, a use permit. We have a specific plan for the development of the vacant property on the north side of B Street over at Briar, which is the Livingston Commons specific plan. You probably saw construction of the Arco AM/PM and quick service restaurant at the southwest corner of Hammett and Campbell has begun. They've got their grading permit, their building permit, that's been issued, and if it wasn't for the rain, they would be further along in that construction. I know some of the council members attended a groundbreaking ceremony last month on that. We have the development of a commercial building at the southeast corner of Hammett and Walnut next to the Chevron station. We have a building permit in for that, so that should be coming up pretty soon. The other thing that we kind of see is the update to the city's housing element. This concludes the planning department's report this evening. I appreciate your attention. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Are there any questions on the dais? Comments?
Yeah, I do, Mr. Mayor. McGill, one of the things I've been advocating over the years was around town, especially in the older part of town, we have some empty lots. Is there something that the planning commission maybe can be tasked with to help promote infill lots, like empty lots, and try to get them kind of filled up? It's better to have a bunch of weeds there, I mean, having weeds that serve no purpose. If we can, even if that means, and then the council has to make a decision at that time, even if it means offsetting some fees or something to help promote it, it's better to have full lots than empty lots. So something that can be worked with, planning commission and you, and however it works, to contact property owners, or, come with a plan.
Absolutely. The city has worked with a consultant. I believe it's online. We have what's called an opportunity map. And what that does is it identifies all the vacant properties within the city, what they're zoned, how big they are. It doesn't give detailed information as to who owns it, their contact information. But what we're trying to do is let the development community become aware of these are the properties that are available for development. And if you're interested, we're happy to tell you, what type of land uses are permitted. We can go more direct if the council desires and actually reach out to the property owners and say, hey, you have this property, perhaps it's in a state of disrepair, or there's vacant, there's weeds, and kind of reach out to them. What will it take for you to develop? And maybe the council can consider some type of economic development loan.
Exactly.
That type of stuff. So there's different things that can happen. In terms of loans, there's a whole program, administration for it. You got to deal with, loan documents and if people don't pay up and things like that. But there's opportunities that exist, and we can certainly pursue them. We can come up with a strategy for that.
Yeah, I was just maybe you guys can work on something, bring it back, I think. Is that okay with Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Miguel. Appreciate it. Any other reports?
One last staff report.
Okay, go ahead.
Mario Govea from Govea Engineering has an update from the engineering perspective. Thank you.
He just wants to spend money.
That's right. Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. Yeah, I'll be short, just a few items. On the CMAQ application that I brought in front of you here last meeting, it was submitted the following day, and they have been scored. There's no official announcement yet, but we believe the 4 top projects will be recommended for funding, and Livingston is one of those. So nothing official, but I think it's looking good. So that's about, I forget how much, it's like $900 and some thousand. So that's that one. Excuse me, I have a cold. So. Well 8A, which is the replacement for Well 8 up the road here, it will open on Thursday. So we're hoping for a competitive bid there. And then I have suggested holding another water workshop with the council and the community to bring you some updates on all these water projects. There's a whole bunch of them, as you know. So I'll work with staff and suggest probably sometime in February or whenever it works, so that we can bring you up to speed. It takes, those are a little long, so we can't really do a good job in a council meeting because it takes a little too much time. So that's all I have. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, comments? Just one thing, one of the things that I mentioned to some of the staff and yourself included was to figure out ways, and I think you mentioned some ideas about trying to help Public Works with some of those flooding areas. Yes. It's hard to explain to residents that our infrastructure is only so capable of pulling so much water, and I had to kind of explain what's happening, that, all of that rain from the side streets is coming to one, and being the way it's level and stuff like that, it's kind of like a little funnel, and people living on that corner is just, right. This is going to happen probably, so often. But anyways, probably that would be a good opportunity to include some of those ideas about some of the spots where we can kind of go back in and figure out some solutions to.
Yes, and we've worked, like Warden Park, we've had estimates for that for years now, but I think funding has been an issue. East Avenue, or the East Lift Station, we're working on that one. The one that causes the 5th and F flooding is the pump station on Peach, like Tony mentioned, and that will need to have some improvements to the pumps or a new sump, which is obviously more costly, but we'll look into that. But all of those can be done. You have to find the funding for it. Yeah.
So actually, in regards to that, I'm working on a couple of meetings, hopefully with some state agencies and federal agencies that hopefully you guys can participate in, and Tony, and engineering and planning if needed, to be able to provide all the like the technical details and stuff like that, because I'm just going to show them like numbers, this is how much we need, but we need like the reasoning behind it and so on, so that it could make sense, and hopefully they would help us push for some funding somewhere. All right, but I'll keep you guys.
Storm is a challenge. It's of water, sewer, and storm is the big challenge for funding. There's a lot of money for sewer. There's a lot of money for water. Not a whole lot for storm.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else? Good. All right. Thank you, Mario.
Thank you.
Any other city staff? Okay. Okay. That's what you get for canceling meetings. All right. City manager announcements and reports.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you for, I know that you have been in the middle of a lot of everything that has been going on, and that, sometimes I email you and text you, and I'm not really expecting a response right away, and even on the weekends you do, so I really appreciate that, and that gets things done faster. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for the compliment, and I couldn't do it without such a great staff, so that goes out to you as well. Thank you.
City council members, announcements and reports. Mr. Jason.
Don't have a lot. I was out for about a week, but I did get the opportunity to visit Planada and donate a few items to them, and my heart does go out to that whole community. It is a very bad situation for them, and if there's anything else that I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to volunteer.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Soto?
This was a question, I guess, for finance, though. Earlier, Chief had said something about, and I'm grateful for all the services that were provided, but you did mention that it was a volunteer effort, and I'm wondering if that means volunteer, or is that a financial?
I might have misspoke when I said volunteer. What I meant was our people volunteered to work the overtime shifts, and all of that stuff is going to be fully refunded through the FEMA efforts, and all the paperwork and appropriate stuff has been turned in as of this morning.
Thank you for that. 2023, so looking back on the year, it was a very unusual year for our city and our council, and lots of transitions that occurred. I'm very looking forward to working alongside a council, some staff, because just analyzing what had occurred over the year, the recall, the whole sheriff's department, just everything that we want to analyze and put into perspective, at least for me, because I am the returning counsel, looking forward to hitting some of the goals that I had put out from my first 2018 and moving forward with that. So hearing Miguel speak on our general plan and some of the items, Jackie mentioning 1994, I believe, a lot of these updates that need to occur that hasn't occurred over the past, and it's been, a lot of things have been punted down the road from previous councils, falling on this last council. So I'm looking forward to a year that we are very productive, that we can come together and show that we do have our common goals, because that's one of the reasons why we are here, the betterment of our town, stability, growth, sustainable, healthy growth for our citizens. And despite what many in the community, and almost a lot of you in the room, feel very indifferent of some of my goals, my goal is one for this city. It always has been. So I just want to put that out there and remind you that I am here on behalf of the city. I still do the VFW, Veterans of Foreign War. I also sit on the board for Livingston Youth Football and Cheer, Lions Club, and the Miss Independent Scholarship Program. And just this past year, the All Alumni Committee. So I do a fair share of the work in the community, and I'm super proud of what I have done in the past and moving forward. I also spent some time in LeGrand High School, where there were several volunteers out there and lots of donation foods. And it was beautiful to see the communities coming together and working together, and much that I would like to see moving forward in Livingston is all of us coming together and working towards these causes. The volunteerism, and we talk about it, we need a lot more hands. I also am part of the Merced County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which I want to say that I provide through Facebook and through hitting the streets and talking to some businesses. I haven't recently, but I do provide resources. So again, reaching out to me because I want to be able to help and provide for our community. With that being said, I look forward to a great moving forward with some of the goals that we have for Livingston under our general plan. I do sit on the committee for LAFCO, so at this time, if there's any items or anything that you'd like for me to discuss, we do have a meeting camp on this Thursday. So at your leisure or right now on the dais, you can, I'll write them down so that I can discuss them when I'm there as the representative for Livingston. I also went to the Planning Commission meeting last week and heard much of what Miguel said, and it's beneficial for us, even though the item has been moved forward to the next meeting. It's a benefit for us to be there and attend so that we know as a elected what's happening through the other committees and commissions. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Samra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, in our representative form of government, sometimes things flare up, but also in representative form of government, everything auto-corrects, auto-resets. And at this point, that's where we're at. Whatever happened in November, people spoke, we're here. There's 4 of us sitting up here now. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but hopefully we'll have the 5th person appointed later in the meeting. Then there'll be 5 people here. I think everybody that's sitting up the dais and everybody here always has good intentions for the community. I don't think anybody really intentionally runs to do damage to the community, but sometimes it's not the message that's given, it's how it's given, and I think we are past that. Personally, I look forward to working with everybody, and I had mentioned that in my first meeting, and I'm going to mention it again. Once we have our fifth member sitting here, I would strongly ask that the council consider a joint workshop to where we have our planning commissioners there, our council and our recreation, where we can get together as community servants in working on what we think is high priorities for the city, for the citizens, to work on something to where we can come to some sort of a consensus. We don't have to agree 100%. There's no need for that, and we shouldn't. Different opinions are good. In fact, that's what keeps everything healthy. We need to have the difference of opinion, but we also need to be able to work through our differences, and hopefully everybody has something in there. That way we can work towards general plans, and that what it does, it gives the city, the citizens, staff, everybody a kind of like a roadmap, not exactly a small lane, but kind of, hey, this is the general direction we want to go, and we need to be doing that. So I really, really encourage that we set this meeting up early spring, Mr. Mayor, if it's possible. I know that the Planning Commission is getting ready to appoint their chair and the vice chair, and then that, and maybe we can get everybody together. I think it'll be good, have staff, everybody. I think it'll be something worthwhile. So for me, as it says, I am a alternate for MCAG, but the mayor attends the MCAG meeting. I am the primary for our mosquito abatement. I learned something about mosquito abatement today. It is out in the boonies. If you don't know where it is, out there on Deepwater Road, I've driven by it 152 1,000 times, but never even thought about turning over there. But it is way out there. I think being a junior member, I was forced into a committee for insurance. I guess nobody wanted that. That's why I have it, but that's okay. But it was a good learning experience. We're gonna be doing a lot of that. We managed to get a few things done. One of them was that they showed us the budget and everything and what the books are, and I think our finance director will tell you, and acting city manager, that is where I live, So it was great to see account balance and everything there, and asked a few questions and learned something that it only cost us $12 a year to have mosquito abatement services. That's a couple of, I don't know how many cups of coffee you can get from Starbucks, but it's a pretty good deal I learned today, And then on the other items, Mr. Mayor, I was very disappointed with you over the weekend. I know you were out there scraping the gutters and everything. I had asked that you take care of my dishes. I went home just like my kids. My dishes were still not washed, I'm not sure. But anyway, I just wanted to thank the mayor. He was out there a lot over the weekend, sweeping up the sidewalks and doing all that. I appreciate it. I know Mr. Roth was out there about too. I'm sure you were out there too. I didn't run into you there, but I'm pretty sure we were all out there. No? You were in Lee Grand, yeah. So we all did what we could during this trying time for the county, and seeing our cruisers out there, our units out in Palnata, it was good to say that, hey, we as Merced County may not always agree on things, but when time comes, we get together, we are one county, we are Merced County. We're not little individual communities in that time. So it was great that everybody did the help. I hope we never have to go through this again, but it shows. And, well, I can't read my writing too much, but still, that's what I have for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to the mayor's announcements and reports. Well, last month I was invited to participate in the swearing-in ceremony for the new lieutenant. Very proud, and for those of you that don't know, we do have a new lieutenant. So that was last month. Also, actually, I still have my leaves rake in my car since the first storm, but next time I go by your house and you don't clean your gutters, I'm gonna send PD or Public Works and give you a fine for not cleaning your gutters.
Well, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I don't care if you have a rake. Do you have a dishwashing soap and a sponge?
That'll be for another conversation, but thank you anyways for offering. Yeah, so, it's, and then once again, it's always good to make sure that, the recommendation and to support Public Works. Whenever there's a rain coming, just kind of go out to the street in front of your house and see if you have leaves. Even though if you're not right in a corner, if you're in the middle of the block, you got leaves, just rake them away from the sidewalk, or just pick them up and just throw them, to your garbage can, because otherwise, they'll just go down to the corner and then it will cause more problems. But always, my spot to go is always 5th and F, just, there's always plenty to do there, but, and then, anyways, so, Planada volunteer, just, hopefully we don't see that again anywhere else, and that way, but if needed, I'm sure the entire community will be very supportive. I saw, different families from Livingston out there too, taking donations, blankets and stuff like that. So I want to say thank you to all of the Livingston residents that were very supportive for those communities. And last month there was no recreation. I'm the liaison to the recreation department. I attended the MCAG. Well, that's the same thing that I reported last time, so there's going to be another meeting coming up, and I will be reporting at the next meeting in regards to that. And that's it for me. Okay, so moving forward. Next, we have the consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda? So earlier, Ms. Soto, you mentioned you have questions or comments, or do you want to pull those items separate and then deal with them later, or you want to talk about them right now and include them in the consent agenda? What do you want to do?
They were just questions, so if they need to be pulled so that we can approve the consent agenda, that's up to you.
Let's go ahead and pull them. So that we
Items
can.
number 5 and 6.
Okay, anything else from the consent agenda? So we're pulling items 5 and 6. So we have items 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9 in the consent agenda. I need a motion.
I will make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
I have a first. I have a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. Can we have roll call, please?
Roll call, Councilmember Roth.
Yes.
Roll call, Councilmember Roth.
Yes.
Councilmember Soto.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra.
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
Okay, so
Item number 5, I just had a,
can you give me just 1 second? Are there any public comments in regards to any of the items in the consent agenda? On the phone? In person? See none? Okay. Item number 5, please. Go ahead.
my only comment there was, I know that we have the acting city manager on to the list of authorized signatures, and hopefully soon it would be that we would have a a city manager, so are we going to do this process all over again with the same signatures, with the addition?
Yes, that's correct. We'll do it now so we can continue business, and then we'll have to do it again when it changes. That's correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Of course.
Item number 6. No.
Okay, so we can move to item number 6.
Item number 6, it does talk about the amount of funds that we had received for the vehicle abatement, and it talks about other ways that the money could be used. I just wanted to know as to who recommended the spending to go towards a new vehicle.
So the vehicle's already purchased, and so we participate in the vehicle abatement program through MCAG. There was $14,000 that was rolled over from previous years that was never spent. And earlier this month, we were awarded an additional $6,000. And so that money is being planned to be used to supplement the outfitting of the new police vehicle.
Was there, besides, when that rollover, the $14,000, could that money be used in a different way?
It has to be used for vehicles. And it had to be.
The purchase of a vehicle for the program?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? All right, so now we need a motion to approve item 5 and 6.
I'll motion to approve.
So we have a motion on the floor. We need a second.
I will second it.
First and a second. Can we have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. So now we're moving on to item number 11, discussion and potential action items. Item number 11, resolution approving the award of agreements with Gouveia Engineering for contract engineering services and on-call engineering services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. As the admin report describes, we had Gouveia Engineering provide engineering services as city engineer and also on-call engineering services for approximately the last 10 years. And so in order to provide our due diligence in the use of public funds, we issued an RFQ. Originally, we issued one in July and received but one response and didn't feel that that was competitive, and so we went out again in October, and we did receive several responses. We did have external parties evaluate who are experts in this field, and they brought back their scores, which are demonstrated in the admin report, which all three unanimously found that Gouveia Engineering was the top proposer for both on-call as well as city engineering services. And so staff is asking that we execute contracts to be approved by a city attorney for those services.
Are there any questions or comments from the dais? Okay, I'll go out to the public for comments and I'll come back to the dais. Are there any questions or comments from on the phone? Hearing none. Here in the chambers, any comments or questions? All right, I'm bringing that back to the dais. Are there any questions, comments, suggestions, recommendations?
Mr. Mayor, if there's no questions, I'll make the motion. We authorize city manager to sign an agreement with Gouveia Engineering for engineering services.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
Okay, now we're on item number 12, consideration of the Planning Commission's declaration of 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission and expiration of 2 planning commissioners' terms of service. Thank you, Miguel.
Good evening again, Mayor, council members, city staff, members of the audience. Miguel Galvez, contract planner. The item before you this evening is consideration of a declaration by the Livingston Planning Commission of 2 current vacancies, along with the expiration of terms of 2 members of the Planning Commission. The 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission have recently occurred, with one, the election of Commissioner Jason Roth to the City Council. Congratulations once again, Jason. The balance of his term of the Planning Commission would have expired on December 31st, 2024. The second vacancy occurs with the resignation of a Commissioner Adnan Bath earlier this month. The balance of his term on the Planning Commission would have expired on December 31st, 2023. So we have 2 vacancies that way. In addition, the terms of 2 planning commissioners have also expired. Regular Planning Commission member Steve Bassi completed his 4-year term on that expired this last December 2022. Alternate Commissioner Andres Fuentes, who completed the unexpired term, which also expired December of last year. So we have those 2 terms that need to be reappointed. In general, the Planning Commission is presently comprised of 5 regular members and 2 alternate members who can vote when regular members are unable to vote due to the absence or conflict of interest. The 2 commissioners whose terms have expired can continue to serve until a majority of the City Council has filled those appointments. With the Planning Commission, a minimum quorum of 3 members of the commission is required to take action on planning matters. So it's real critical to make sure that we have appointments made so the city can continue to conduct business. With the vacancies and the expired terms and the need to continue to take action on planning applications, it is appropriate and necessary for the City Council to commence the process of considering how it wishes to appoint members to fill the 4 vacancies to the Planning Commission. Appointment strategies can consist, and these are just examples, so I'll list 4 of them. Appointments recommended by the mayor to the full City Council. Formation of an ad hoc committee consisting of 2 council members that will make a recommendation to the full council is the second option. A third option is the formation of an ad hoc committee that includes 2 City Council members, 2 Planning Commission members, city staff that can include the planning director, the city engineer, and the city manager. A fourth option is just what I've seen as a general interview process where applicants are considered by the whole council at once in an open public setting. So these are 4 strategies that the council may elect as options. A separate but related consideration that I would make to the council is that it may consider amending the number of planning commissioners from 5 full regular members and 2 alternate members to having 7 regular members and no alternatives. Some jurisdictions even allow for a student representative to participate in discussions but not in the vote. The other consideration, the City Council can also reconsider further staggering the appointment terms. These changes would require an amendment to the municipal code, but they're just food for thought at this point. Whichever strategy that's elected, the council should direct staff to commence the advertisement of the Planning Commission vacancies, both uncompleted terms and with the new 4-year terms, to appoint or select an appointment strategy to fill the vacancies on the Planning Commission after you deliberate. And 3, direct that the selective process bring back appointment recommendations for consideration by the full City Council. This completes my report, and staff is happy to respond to questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the dais? Jason, go ahead.
Miguel, has Mr. Bassi or Mr. Fuentes shown interest in coming back after their terms expired?
Yes, they have expressed verbally at the Planning Commission meetings that they're interested in being considered for a reappointment.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to reserve my comment after
Okay.
public.
All right. Anybody else? All right, I'm going for public comment on the phone in regards to this item. Any comments here in the chambers? Please come forward.
Mr. Mayor, Council, as current chair of the Planning Commission, I'd like to have you very seriously considering Steve Bassi for another full-time term, alternate Commissioner Fuentes for another alternate term, and I'd recommend that the senior alternate commissioner currently, Harpreet Baines, be selected to fill the current vacancy caused by Jenkins Ross' election to council. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Are there any other more comments here in the chambers? Okay, seeing none, coming back to the dais. Council, what would you like to do? What are some of your comments, suggestions?
Come on, Mr. Roth, that's your neck of the woods.
I recommend what Chair Wallace said, to move Happy up to fill in my term, and then as per this agenda item, I think that we should just have 7 permanent planning commissioners instead of the alternate, due to the fact that it does get frustrating, just from my experience, when you're, involved in the meetings and then you can't vote on the item. And I know some of the alternates probably feel the same way as I did when I was alternate. But I'd like to recommend that.
Any other comments before we make any more recommendations, comments or suggestions?
Miguel, I didn't read in the report, but you did mention all the options that were available to us, but I'm remembering in the past, and it was difficult for me to hear what was said. I know that prior we had applications, we had put it out for the public to apply, to put an application, their interest on wanting to be a commissioner for the planning. Was that one of the options as well? To put it into the community to get more applicants?
That's not a discussion. That's not something we discussed, but certainly it is an option. Clearly, there are people that have applied previously to serve or be considered for appointment to the Planning Commission. It would make sense to reach out to them to see if interest is still there. And if there is, we can include them. The other option is to, ask them to reapply, if you will. But that is certainly an option in kind of opening up the field. It's like, hey, are you still interested? You were considered before. We didn't select you last time, but we can consider you this time, depending on what the council desires to do.
Also, as the chair, do you, Mr. Wallace, the absenteeism of certain commissioners, are they still eligible?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that, Councilwoman.
I know that one of your stipulations as a commissioner is the absenteeism. There are some absenteeism within your commissioners these past couple of months. Are they still eligible due to?
The current policy that's in effect right now, if you have 3 unexcused absences in a 12-month period, that automatically comes from the planning director notifies you that we automatically have a vacancy due to that. And the current procedure is it's only due to a medical, family emergency, that's it. And so, unexcused absence, we're working on in the future, hopefully the new chair, new vice chair, or whoever it's going to be, we'll work on tightening that up a little bit. One of the things I fought planning commissioners not calling in Monday. If you know you're going to go out of town or something, you need to call the secretary. We need to get ahead, so on Tuesday of a commission meeting, they're not calling people on the phone and asking, are you coming? I've been fighting that for years, but we've never been able to get that quite brought into it like the city code and then adapted into our commission booklet. but that needs to be straightened out. And a good example would have been Steve Bassey occurred an unexcused absence because it's work. Now, work is not covered. It was not a family medical emergency. Now, should it be? I don't know. But that's something that needs to be discussed. The other portion that you mentioned on the applications, yes, they have done it. Some years they haven't. But we could send an application out because we're going to still have one vacancy. Even if these three were to move forward, there's still going to be an alternate vacancy. So that would be one where you could actually post it, and that'll take 30 some odd days before we would have that vacancy filled anyway. But the rest of the commission would be more functional, and we wouldn't be running around like last time. We knew when Steve was going to be absent, could I get all the alternates here? And one had a medical emergency, so we were pretty strapped, but it was fortunate that both alternates showed up. Any other questions? Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Let me understand, Mr. Roth, you're recommending, or I know you haven't put it in as a motion yet, but you're saying to reappoint Steve Bassey?
Correct.
To appoint Harpreet Baines to your former position?
Correct.
And I would like to add to it to see if we could, that way we have a full planning commission, is if you folks would consider appointing Mr. Fuentes as a permanent to replace Mr. Bath?
I was just going to say that. I left him out on accident. But yeah, I agree.
Okay.
And then because because we got Renee on there also. So advertise for the
alternates.
two. Correct.
Yes, okay.
But not alternates, permanent.
Permanent.
Yeah, have 7 permanent.
Oh, got it. Well, for now, we need to appoint and then come back, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You want to make that as a motion?
I have a question, well, I have a comment first before we make any, well, if you want to make a motion, you can do so. So I do like the idea, this is something to think about. If we have 7 full-time commissioners, 7, and no alternates, that means that to have quorum, we need 4. But if we have 5, we only need 3. Correct. So in some instances, we would have, or they would have possibly a little bit more in case of an emergency, because last time I only saw 3 of them here. So if it had been 7 full-time commissioners, they would have had no quorum. So I see the point. I like the idea of having 7 commissioners, but then that, potentially, but okay, so what could we do when you have 5 regular commissioners? You will still have the 2 alternates. They should be here, at every meeting, ideally. But then again, it's just something to think about. I mean, I do like the idea of having 7 full-time commissioners, but you might run into the quorum minimum being 4. But I mean, that's a chance that they would have to take if that was to happen. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm not disputing that, but I'm just saying that, they're getting appointed. They are making a commitment to be here. I mean, throughout my whole time as a planning commissioner and alternate commissioner, I think I only missed 1 meeting due to the fact that I was out of the country. So, I mean, it's a commitment. So just like recreation or anything else, any other committee that you're on.
Mr. Mayor, can I make another comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with the 5. If we go to 7 permanent, we'd have to have a larger quorum. Also, we'd have to change the city ordinance. But one of the issues I've had with alternate one, alternate two, when the prior city council sprung that on us with no notice, how do we identify them? So we came up with a numbering system. One did odd months, and number two did the even months. The salary, they do it because they want to serve the city, okay? $25 a month is nothing, okay? But if you're number two and it's not your month to be there, what's your incentive to come? You're getting paid your $25, but if there's nothing big on the menu, on the agenda, it's not my month, the other alternate will fill. Well, that puts me back to that same limbo. How do I get everybody accounted for? And that's always been that issue. And I don't think 4 would be a problem. We've always managed to scrape together the 3. And since 2015, when I first started as an alternate, and then when I became chair, we have never not had a quorum, as in past years. So we've always managed to get it done. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Any other comments in regards to this item? All right, coming back to the dais. Any comments, ideas, recommendations? Any motions? If I may, just real quick. So, but I guess we can also bring this back, because another thing that I notice is, like, every time there's a new council, then has to be new appointments and stuff like that. And then, so in the future, and I know that this won't be able to happen until, like, 2-3 years or so on, but maybe we need to consider moving the end of the terms to an odd year. So, like, for instance, 23. So that the new council, whenever they come in, they get a chance to see how they work or not, and then they get to, instead of just you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, but rather, there's a council and then they have to appoint. So rather, there's a new council and then allow them to work for 1 year and then see how they work, and then, there's only one position here, which was for Commissioner Bath, which expires on 23. I mean, I don't know why that's the only one, but there's 2?
He resigned. There's 2 expired terms.
No, but I mean the one that expires on year 23. All of the other ones expire either 24 or 26. I'm just talking about the years and the time that it expires. So, but I know it's not something that we can do today. Probably we can do later but it's just an idea, so everybody so we can try and figure out to make the process better, that way we're not going through this step, or like every new council has to go through this process. And so, it's just one less thing to worry about. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that out. All right, at this time, we'll take, yes, go ahead.
So I think we've got two items for consideration. One that requires a motion if you want to fill the vacancies or select a process to fill the vacancies, or however you want to handle that. But additionally, potentially a direction to staff to bring forth either an ordinance to up it to 7, and or to bring an updated planning commission policy that addresses the quorum issues and the term date limit issues.
Okay, so, all right, so the first thing that we need to do is declare the vacancies and see how we want to proceed.
Then go ahead and appoint.
Yeah, the vacancies were declared, so you can make a motion to appoint the way that has been discussed, or make a motion to affix a process for appointment.
Okay, so there were 3 options, or more or less, I mean, that were mentioned. What do you guys want to do?
I believe Mr. Roth had a good idea to go ahead and appoint and then bring back whether to change to 7 or what we're going to do at a later date.
That is correct. So I'd like to make the motion to replace Happy Baines in my vacant seat. And reappoint Andres Fuentes for a second term, and then advertise for 2 others.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I had a different suggestion, but,
Okay, well,
Okay, let's go with that one.
huh?
well, hold on. Like, right now, there's a motion.
Yes,
So there's a motion, so let's allow that to go through.
okay.
And then if not, then we can move on to the next one.
Okay.
So you want to, so if I understand this correctly, Jason, so you're saying to appoint Mr. Happy to fill, okay, for 2 years,
For 2 years,
and then reappoint Mr. Fuentes, which is currently on alternate.
and I'm sorry, I messed that up, and Mr. Bassi, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Mr.,
Okay, so I'm going to redo it. Appoint Happy Baines to my position that I became council member. Reappoint Steve Bassi and Andreas Fuentes
As an alternate or as to replace Mr. Bath?
to replace Mr. Bath.
Okay, that's what I want, that's what I wanted to hear. That's what I didn't hear the first time. Sorry about that.
I'm new yet, guys. Bear with me.
You've been at it for almost a month.
Yeah, still. And then advertise for 2 alternates.
Okay, that sounds good, better.
all right. So to appoint Mr. Happy Baines to your position for 2 more years. To expire in '24. To appoint Mr. Fuentes to Mr. Bath's position, which expires on 2023. And reappoint Mr. Steve Bassi for how long? Is that? It's
a full term.
Yeah, okay.
Is that your motion, Mr.
That is
Bath?
my motion, yes.
I will second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Just to clarify, was the a second one is also to go out for advertise for the
Correct.
2 alternates? Okay, roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Samar?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 3-1.
Next, we have item number 13, discussion and consideration of a resolution to prohibit teleconferencing at City of Livingston public meetings by members of the City Council as well as its commissioners and subcommittees under the requirement of Assembly Bill 2449.
Thank you, Mayor. In December, at the December 6th meeting, the City Attorney's Office presented the council with a new legislation that was put into effect as of January 1st this year, which allows for remote participation by legislative body members under certain circumstances, which are just cause or emergency situations. These situations must be presented to council no later than the beginning of the meeting wherein they're remotely participating. And in certain circumstances, council would decide if just cause exists right then and there at the beginning of the meeting in the public forum. In addition, there are certain requirements to allowing member participation by this medium. You must have either a 2-way audio-visual format, such as Zoom, or a 2-way telephone format, as you have now with live webcasting, which the city does have. The main considerations are that the posting of the teleconferencing may not be possible, especially in emergency circumstances. So if a council member had an emergency situation, they would be telephoning in and seeking approval at the beginning of the meeting. If there was any disruption in the teleconferencing format, no action could be taken until the teleconferencing format was fixed. So if you had issues with the telephone system that you have in place now, the meeting would essentially stop until that was fixed, and if it couldn't be fixed that evening, it would have to be adjourned and continued to a different meeting. Additionally, for public comment, during these circumstances, even if you don't have any public comment, you must wait the allotted 3 minutes for each item. So it will add some time to council meetings. On December 6th, the council asked that we bring forth a policy proposing to prohibit attendance via AB 2449, which would default the council back to the regular teleconferencing rules that existed prior to the pandemic, which requires that if a council member is going to remotely attend and participate in the meeting, the agenda must be posted at that location, the location where the council member is. The location must be listed on the agenda and publicly posted, and any public participants that wish to attend the meeting must be allowed to attend at the remote location that that council member is at.
Okay. Honestly, it sounded very confusing since the last time. It's still confusing, but okay. But first, the good thing is I'll bring it up for questions on the dais. Hopefully, they can help me better understand it. Let's hope.
So you're asking us to clarify for you, Mr. Mayor? Is that correct? We have legal for that, but with their assistance, we'll try to figure this out. It is confusing, I understand. Just to make sure that I understand, by approving this, it means prohibiting it, no council member can attend meetings remotely. Is that correct?
So it would default back to the remote participation requirements from pre-pandemic. And so they would be able to, but with the greater restrictions of having to publicly post their location that they are remoting in from.
And it has to be made available to the public, correct?
Correct.
So if I'm not feeling well, whatever, I would have to put the agenda on my door and make sure the door is available, open, so they can step inside. Is that correct?
Yes.
I wanted to make sure everybody understands.
But-
I know what it is.
But that is only if you were to participate.
Yes, I understand.
If not, you can stay in bed and not worry about it.
I understand. Now, even if we're at a conference, we can still remote attend the meeting, but we would have to follow the same rules, put in the agenda, make sure the hotel, wherever you're at, is available, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so everybody understands that, correct? Now, the public can still participate in comments remotely, correct?
Yes, this does not affect the remote public participation at all.
Yes. So I'm not sure if I want somebody to come to my house if I need to attend a meeting, because that's almost close to my dinner time, and I don't want to have to serve dinner either, but still, I understand that. To me, Mr. Mayor, I hope that clarifies I know you understand it, I hope it clarifies for the public. To me, prior to COVID, cities, jurisdictions, they survived the other way. I don't understand zooming in on everything. You can still watch the meeting if you just want to know, an elected official. Nobody says you can't watch a meeting. But to me, I would simply say, let the public feel differently, is to prohibit it and go back to pre-COVID.
And so I just want to be clear that There are going to be circumstances where AB 2449 wouldn't exist, and those other teleconferencing rules, they're still out there regardless. So this makes those the only means, rather than having it open to have these additional just cause and emergency circumstances apply.
Okay, do I understand it correctly, legal?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and the original teleconferencing rules require the regular 72-hour notice or 24-hour for special meetings
Yes.
for posting, whereas AB 2449 does not.
Okay, thank you.
That is the one thing that I was going to mention, that normally if we know that we're going to be attending a conference, it would be part of the agenda to post our location like pre-COVID, and that was one of the requirements. So I like it pre-COVID, just to make it simpler, but I'll bring it up for comment. Any public comment on the phone? Any public comment in the chambers in regards to this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. So I do get confused, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. This is probably the longest time I spent reading an agenda to understand everything, like close to probably 20 hours altogether. Because I do have a lot of questions. Well, not a lot of questions, but I just want to make sure that when I'm here that I understand everything. But this is one of those items that I just want to make sure that. So if I call it the pre-COVID, because there's two options here, right? There's two things that we can do, just to make sure we don't do the wrong thing or the thing that we're not wanting to. So is that right? Is there two options? Can you tell us what the pre-COVID option is?
You can either adopt the resolution prohibiting legislative body members from participating under the rules of AB 2449, or you can reject the resolution, and AB 2449 is already in effect.
If we reject, then we would go back to the pre-COVID era.
No, if you adopt, you go back to pre-COVID, yeah. If you adopt the resolution, then you prohibit participation under the new legislation, and you are restricted to the pre-COVID rules. And if you reject the resolution, then all options are on the table for participation as far as the new legislation goes.
Did that make sense? No, one or the other. If we approve, it's pre-COVID. And if we reject, then we got to go back to a lot more. Because if people participate and then their cell phone dies, we cannot proceed here. And then, right? Because yeah. And if the public are calling in and then our system goes down, we cannot continue with our meeting here.
That's correct. If the participation system, teleconferencing, or the webcasting goes down,
We have to
the
stop.
meeting stops.
Yeah. So if we approve, then we go pre-COVID and less issues to deal with.
No, but right as of now, when the system goes down, you can continue the meeting. Correct.
If we adopt, the system goes down, the meeting suspends. If we prohibit, the meeting can still continue.
But it is only during those times that someone is participating under those rules.
Yeah.
So if a council member calls in under AB 2449 and the system goes down, the meeting stops. But if you go back to the previous teleconferencing rules, council member calls in, it's been posted where they are, everything's allowed, teleconferencing system goes down, meeting can continue.
Are there any more questions, comments? I know I see a lot of confusing faces out there, but that's how I was last time. I still am a little bit. Any motions?
Yes. You know, we can send rovers to Mars, but we can never make Zoom work all the time. It doesn't happen, I don't care. Phones go down, batteries go down on laptops, people don't, Wi-Fi can drop, a lot of things happen. And instead of causing all this havoc, I make the motion that we prohibit teleconferencing at City of Livingston public meetings by members of City Council, as well as other lesser bodies as defined by California Government Code, Section 54952 as a part of the Brown Act, legislative bodies under the requirements of the Assembly Bill AB 2449.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth,
Yes.
Councilmember Soto,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. Next item, we have item number 14, discussion and direction to consider and allow fireworks in the city of Livingston. Just kidding. Changes on the fireworks ordinance.
Evening again. My hopes to bring this up to you folks tonight is to get some general direction and idea on where we want to go with our local ordinance for illegal aerial fireworks. It comes up every year. If we want to make some changes and get a little bit more constringent on the fines and obviously they're illegal anyway, but right now our current city ordinance just falls back to the state statute, and the $1,500 fine ends up in the Superior Court. There's other local jurisdictions that are doing things like raising or creating an administrative fine that's built into the ordinance that's anywhere from $2,500 to up to $3,500 depending on the jurisdiction. Another thing that they're also doing is adding an administrative fine for people that are in control of properties that are allowing aerial fireworks to go off in their yard. And we're not talking about like homeowners that are landlords. It would be the person that's in control of the property. So before I got busy working on it, I wanted to have you guys discuss it and get some general direction from you.
Okay, are there questions, suggestions from the dais? Well, I mean, I know that it's something that different communities are dealing with similar problems.
Right.
And I know that agencies or communities or cities like Fresno, Ceres have implemented, and many others. Actually, there's some that have prohibited, again, the use of fireworks altogether. But it seems like some other changes are working. They're not completely not having fireworks, but it has gone down based on their numbers drastically. So those admin fines going up to $2,000, $2,500, and $3,500, and so on, and also making the owners or the land, the homeowners responsible, or whoever is hosting people there. Then those are some of the options that will probably help lower the number of fireworks in the city, not only because they're a nuisance, but because they cause property damage.
Right.
But that's just I think we should be looking at something like that. But then I don't know what the rest of the council wishes. I know some of the council members wish the county was doing the same thing with nearby neighbors who don't let them sleep at night sometimes, but.
Well, just as an example, this last 4th of July holiday, we served a couple of search warrants, recovered a bunch of illegal fireworks from houses, and that was just from the proactive work that our officers were doing and information that we were getting from the public. And it really is, for as dangerous as they are, it really is, the state fine is just a slap on the wrist.
And one thing that I forgot to ask to those other agencies in regards to the only way that currently our current regulation that we have in the city is PD has to catch them in the act while they're lighting up for them to be cited.
Correct.
Our other agencies have something different to where, like, I mean, because I have a couple of neighbors, they're like, man, it's like I got videos, they send them to me, they're like, you know, but we just don't get to I have to explain. We have to have the officer right there and then turning around the corner.
Well, that's where we get creative with the ordinance, and obviously it has to go through legal and make sure that we're doing things the right way. But there's different, you know, levels of the administrative fines that we can add in there and different rules that we really, you know, don't have the latitude to use with a state crime. Right now, our ordinance refers back to the health and safety code, and that's it.
Questions from the dais? Comments?
You know, I have a neighbor that is always lighting them off. They haven't lately, but, you know, I've talked to Chief Hale about it. I brought it up to the police department many a times, and it is a nuisance. I mean, I've got pets, and, you know, they're afraid, but I think we do need stringent rules on fireworks, the illegal fireworks. I mean, it's a pain when you're trying to sleep at night and you hear this explosion going off, and it echoes in between my home. I live right next to another two-story home, and it's a nuisance. So I'm all for it.
Council, what is your direction?
To me, I'd like to ask the chief to bring back something. I think he is correct. A lot of times the Superior Court, they'll give you a slap on the wrist, and people haven't learned their lesson. A few people get administrative citation. They're going to tell their neighbors, and I think it'll slow down.
All right. Before we continue, I would like to put it up for public comment or questions for the chief. Any comments or questions on the phone? Bring it back to the chamber. Any comments or questions here on the chamber? Seeing none, bring it back to the dais. So it's just direction. Is that more than, okay, we're good. All right, thank you. Wow, it's only 9:30. All right, so before we begin, I really want to say thank you for everyone that applied, you know, and just so you know, the reason we put it later in the agenda is because there's so many items that were, you know, that were very difficult to deal with, and we didn't want to put the burden on whoever is going to be up here for you have to deal with what we go through, and especially not having the background knowledge about those items, it makes it more difficult. So, but it's only 9:30. I was really thinking we were going to be here about 11:30 or so. So we're like 2 hours ahead. Still enough time. All right, so next item, we have discussion and potential action items. Item number 15, resolution appointing a member to fill the city council vacancy. I don't know who's gonna
Good evening, Council.
bring this to
Do you want?
legal or?
Okay. Good evening, council. At the December 6th City Council meeting, staff was directed to initiate a recruitment to fill the city council seat vacated as a result of previous council member Jose Moran being elected as mayor. The recruitment was open on December 7th and closed on December 22nd at 5 p.m. Five applications were received. One of the applicants, Omar Herrera, withdrew his application today. All applications were confirmed with Merced County Register of Voters to be registered voters residing in the city of Livingston. Staff recommends City Council to interview the applicants and select one candidate to fill the City Council vacancy. If Council appoints someone to the City Council, the appointed person shall take their oath of office immediately after appointment and shall serve the remainder of the term of the vacancy, which will end in December 2024.
All right, so we have four. Initially, we had 5 applicants, now we have 4.
That's correct.
And so, council, if you guys have any questions, I don't know how we want to do this. My recommendation is to potentially ask the same questions to all 4, or I don't know. I mean, what do you guys wish to do?
We could ask each candidate to present themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves and why they applied, or what their plan is, I think.
Okay with that? All right, so we can start with that. I would like to invite the candidates. We have 4 candidates. I don't want to call names, but, you know, it's up to you guys. Also, if you guys wish to come up and I mean, we know based on the applications, you know, your information, but the residents also know a little bit about yourself as a candidate, who you are, how long you've been here, or what do you do, or and why you're running, and so on, or any other information that you wish to share. So I'll leave it open. I'll call for the candidates. Anybody wants to volunteer first?
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
think it'll be more appropriate if we go by the way it is on our book.
Sure, we
the
can
way
do
they're
that.
listed in our attachments.
Okay,
And
sure, we can do that.
Let's have them each come up in that order, I think, you know, that way, if they wish to, okay, if not, they can say, we're not come up, so just let them come up in that order. If you look at it in the attachments here.
All right. Okay, so the first one on the list is Mr. David Blevins.
Good evening. David Blevins, longtime resident. Yeah, it is. So, yeah, the light's on. So, longtime residents of Livingston. I worked for many years at the store here in Livingston, so I've been around. Been on the Planning Commission, Recreation Commission. Did a lot of coaching when my kids were coming up, and even after that. I think the main reason that I'm running is, you know, there was a lot of turmoil with the past council. I'd like to see, you know, a little stability. One of the most important things we need to do is make sure we put good people in the proper places and let them do their job. That's, unless you have any questions for me, that's pretty much it.
Are there any questions from the dais?
Yes. David, thank you, first of all, for applying. Can you give me your general idea of what are some of the major issues that are confronting the city? And also, at the same time, tell us what you think should be the city's general growth plans. Would you envision a all-out or some sort of control? I mean, just development type, or what do you consider that to be? Can you give me kind of a general idea, please?
Okay, so let's start with, so generally, as far as growth, you know, we need more businesses. We need more businesses. Right now, we have to leave town in order to do most of the things that we want to do. So we need to, I think it would be important that we have, what would be nice, you know, if the money was there, to have an economic development director that went out chasing some of these businesses. They're, you know, we're not quite big enough where they're beating down our door. So we need to, you know, let ourselves be known. As far as residential, I think home-wise, I think we're doing pretty well. I think it would be nice to see a little bit more multifamily use, duplexes and stuff like that. Like you said, the planner was talking about, you know, infill, second homes, you know, granny flats, stuff like that. I think that's a good idea, especially with the prices nowadays. People just can't afford to buy anymore. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
What do you feel is the major challenges for the city?
The major challenges right now is water, you know, and stability in staff. We need to, you know, go out carefully, hire the right people, and let them do their jobs. That pretty much covers it. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll leave it to the other council members as well, yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for applying, and I think it's very crucial to see people involved. I really appreciate it, but I think the question that I had, you already answered to him.
Sure.
So thank you.
And regardless of what you guys decide tonight, you know, I've been working, I haven't been around the last few years. I've been working swing shift, so I've been kind of out of the loop. I've been paying attention, but not as much as I'd like. So that's all changing. So regardless of what comes out today, you know, I'm going to be around and I'm going to make my voice heard. So I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you. And then also just a reminder, you know, there's vacancies on the Planning Commission and the Recreation, so that's another opportunity to continue serving. Next, we have Melissa Cyphers, Bernie. Thank you. I was afraid I was going to butcher that.
Honestly the first to probably get it correct. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Melissa Vernig. I am a new resident to Livingston. 2 years ago, I moved here from Turlock, where I've lived the majority of my life. We'll say that I didn't outgrow Turlock, Turlock outgrew me. I'm a small town girl. We're at 76,000, I believe now. Every time I go visit my parents, I have to go. I need to go back to my small, quiet town. When I purchased my home, I did a lot of research around Stanislaus County and also Merced County, and I chose Livingston. Quiet, it's clean, it has amazing curb appeal, low crime rate. And I remember coming here, I was in marching band at Turlock High School, and I remember coming here for all the band reviews and remembering what a cute, quaint, nice town it was to visit. So thank you for having me. Someone's pen. I'm a nurse. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. I've been a nurse for about 14 years. When I saw the vacancy come up on Facebook, Letty posts a lot on Facebook, and that's how I became aware. And so I decided to apply. I was involved when I lived in Turlock in numerous things, and I always felt that my expertise and my experience wasn't well utilized just because of the growth of the town. And the reason why I wanted to come here is You have a great town, and I'm so excited to be a part of it, and I want to make sure that we're focused on that clear and conscientious growth in the future. Maintaining police department support as we grow, as the population grows, to maintain that, low crime rate that we have. Some of the things that I wanted to focus on was potentially a farmer's market. It does bring great revenue to city funds. Also, one of the major things I wanted to spearhead was a community closet. When I was a school nurse, I worked in Newman. It is an underserved population, and one of the things that we created there was a community closet for any resident to come to get jackets, any sort of gently used or new items, blankets, clothing, school supplies. And I know that there's a building next door that's not 100% utilized, and I thought that would be a great space for something like that. I think that's all I have.
Any questions from the dais?
I don't want to hog the meetings, maybe another council member?
Well,
Just one quick question. Our downtown area, just by looking at it, what would you improve in our downtown area?
I actually had questions about the roundabout. I know a lot of people use that area as an autobahn. They don't really understand exactly how it functions. And I know I've encountered people that just drive straight through it. I do have friends that are on the Public Works. I actually spoke to a friend of mine, Al Pacheco, and he said that the reason why it functions that way is because when they have to divert traffic to certain areas, that the big rigs can still drive over it. So that makes sense. More businesses. My daughter opened a massage therapy business here. She's in the chiropractor's office down the street. I've always been a little curious as to far as the open lot between Ireland Tax Group. There's just an open space there. Maybe acquiring more buildings, a beautification project. I know that they had the murals over by the roundabout. I was sad to see that they're gone. I think it's a great area to see. What are yours? Okay. We've taken many pictures there. Again, a farmer's market. One of the great community events that we have here is the Mennonite Church. They have the Fall Festival, and I love the cinnamon rolls, and they always come to the farmers markets in the areas. And I always look forward to seeing them, so.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it. Next, we have Mr. Jatinder Man.
Good evening, everyone. When asked what would make me, well, my name is Jatinder Men. I go by JT to my family and friends. Please feel free to call me JT. With that said, I am born and raised in this community. I work here at the hospital in Merced. I'm the clinical manager of the emergency department. I'm a nurse by trade. And when asked why I deserve to be a council member, and I think I would speak on behalf of all the other applicants as well, is that I'm trustworthy, I'm hardworking, I'm adaptable, and I'm transparent. What sets me apart, I think, is my workplace. I've learned really how to become a leader. I'm still honing my skills, but I've learned a lot over the last almost 3 years now as a leader at Mercy. And you really learn to listen. You deal with issues and concerns every day. For many of the people you're speaking to, it may be the worst day of their life, and that really puts some empathy in you, and you really get to hone in and understand what their true issue is and try to find either a compromise or a solution to that. And I think that's what sets me apart. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to really give people the why I can't always accommodate, but I can tell you why I can or cannot. I understand from your position there, you can't always give the full scope as to the why, but I think we can share a lot more than has previously been given in the past. I'll go off some of the questions you asked the other applicants, and you guys asked what are some of the issues that we face here. It's going to be, for me, I would say safety, water, and infrastructure are my biggest concerns, I believe. With that said, I believe that we really need to prioritize those issues and really understand what they entail, and really find out what's going on. It's a domino effect. If you change this, it may domino and change something else. So really understanding those complexities is going to be key on how to move forward in this rebuilding phase that we have. Any other questions from anybody here?
Any questions from the dais, council?
Well, my question goes for you. First of all, thank you again for applying like everybody else. What do you think the city's growth plan should be? Very aggressive, somewhat muted, or somewhere in between? What do you think it should be, the city's growth plan?
That's a deep question. It's a very deep question, and I think that needs to be researched. We have a lot of experts around us that can help us distill that and really figure out what we can accommodate. Now, if I say let's be aggressive, and once you learn more, maybe that's not the best plan. So it's something that needs to be looked into, and so we could make a worthwhile decision, really, and a well-educated decision at that point. And I think including our citizens and our community members is going to be key in that. Really asking them. One question you guys asked was about about downtown. Mr. Roth had asked that question, and I think what's important there is ask those in downtown. Let's go and ask those businesses, hey, what would make your life easier? What would make your area nicer? What do you need? And do our best to accommodate. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, thank you for being here.
Thank you all, and I want to say with the applicants here, I'm glad that they're all here. I don't think you can make a wrong choice today, so thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Robert Wallace.
Mayor, council. Well, I've basically only had 2 jobs in my whole life. 20-some odd years in the military, retired, and 27 years for USA Petroleum. For those that live in the valley, would have seen a lot of USA gas stations. So I worked for that company for a long time. It got bought out twice. But I did get a nice golden handshake, and I get a retirement now from Marathon Oil, which runs USA, Speedway, and Marathon gas stations all through the valley. 2003 to 2009, it was still USA Petroleum. One of the stations, I was a manager before I got promoted to area supervisor. I identified a problem, excuse me, with the car washes. A maintenance company would come out and send us bills. We had no clue what they were doing and who authorized them. So there's 2 district managers, one in Southern California, one in Northern California, and then a bunch of area supervisors. They decided to change my title to car wash manager for the state. I had to approve all bills, supervise the maintenance. However, I reported directly to the vice president of the company. Now, I was still an area supervisor, but that put me in direct conflict with the 2 district managers at first. It took a while for them to realize I wasn't a spy. I was there to help them solve this problem, and there was many days I been out there. In 2009, when Tesoro finally finalized everything, and before we went to Marathon, they didn't know what to do with me. The supervisor that was up here resigned, and they fired the one that had the lower area of the valley. So they asked me if I was willing to drive for a while. Well, I was living in Oxnard, California, because that was my original area. Well, when I took that new position, my goal, my area that I covered, went from Ridgecrest up to 99 to Oakdale. 12 stations, 12 managers, a little over 100 people. Responsible for hiring, training, budgeting, and ADA complaints anywhere in the company. I was the one that met the inspector, verified it. Any properties we were going to acquire, I had to go out and resurvey what the engineers said. They wanted me to count cars, count pumps, what side of the street, what did all the businesses were, because none of that was in there. So it was a challenge both ways. So in 2010, I bought a home here in Livingston. 2007, I was renting for 3 years in Atwater. The drive was just too much. I'd leave Friday night at 6, 7 o'clock at night and had to be back in this area because all my managers started at 6 in the morning, so I had to be here. So it's been, I don't have a college education, but the hands-on the buildings, ADA, all of that kind of consumed. As far as what you want for the city, it's got to start with this general plan, and ours is ancient, to put it bluntly. We need to get that a realistic one. Yes, water, or yes, housing, and how much land is still available, and then the nasty word would be annexation. But it still goes back to the first thing, the general plan, and that has got to be resolved quickly, but it's got to be one that is realistic, one that goes for the growth of what the city wants. The water, the businesses downtown, we need the citizens' input. I'm hoping the ACE train will help, but right now there's nothing driving people here to come shopping. I mean, we all know it, we live here. We support a lot of our businesses, but there's a lot of times people don't. They go to Turlock, you go to Merced, you go to Atwater. Other than Rancho San Miguel, Liberty, there's no big reason to come shop here. Shop local? Yes, we do. But we need something else to attract them. The 2 new gas stations are going to help, and that'll relieve the congestion that's up here, because that has always been an issue with ambulances, early in the morning, later in the afternoon. It's a tie-up there. I'm hoping that the Hammett will get adjusted, we get that straight with Caltrans and make sure it's done to what we need, not what they're going to dictate. We need to be proactive in that regards with Caltrans. And then I'm available. Any questions?
Are there any questions from the dais?
Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked others. What do you think is some top challenges? I know what you said, but what do you feel is top challenges for the city?
Well, it's definitely our water. That's number one. And that goes, they're going to go back to the general plan. How much do we have? How much can we count on? And if we talk drought, nobody's going to believe us right now with all that's happened. But there's got to be a solution to it. What are we looking 5 years from now? And do you want to be a city like Fresno? I don't think so, because then we're going to lose our small town. Do we want to be in between Atwater, Turlock? That might be feasible, but need more input. The contamination, I'd need experts. We got people on the council, but we need the experts to come in. What do we really have? I don't know. Even as a planning commission, I don't know. Sometimes I can't get a straight answer. So that would be what's going to attract people. Hopefully the ACE train, but what is going to make them get off the train here? Or are they just going to be our citizens using it to commute? Then housing, of course, and it's got to be low-cost housing. I've noticed some of the other cities are getting into tiny homes. I don't know. Maybe that's something that should be looked at, starting with the general plan.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so discussion, comments, questions. before we go out to public, or actually, do we go out to public? Yes? Well, let's go ahead and do that. Are there any public comments or questions on the phone in regards to this item? Hearing none, come back to the chamber. Are there any questions, comments in the chamber? Seeing none, I'll come back to the dais. Once again, I really want to thank all of the applicants for making the effort and just taking that step. You know, I know it's not easy. And, you know, it's a big commitment. You know, it's tonight, I think it's a big example of that. And, you know, we'll probably have, I don't know, probably like 3 more hours tonight. So there's no excuse to go home early. But, you know, we only have it twice a month on a good month sometimes. But, you know, whoever ends up here, just make sure that you guys are up for the challenge. There's a lot of great things, you know, we get to be out in the community and really get to learn more about the entire community. You know, I've been in this area for many, many years, and I didn't get to learn about wastewater, you know, garbage, and all of the services. I just open the faucet and the water comes out, you know, it's just, there's a lot to it. Fire, you know, police services and everything else. I have learned so much in 2 years. It just seems like it's been longer, but you know, it's great. So moving forward, council, what do you guys want to do? Questions, comments, suggestions, motions?
I would like to make a motion to appoint Jatinder Mann to fill the vacancy.
Okay, we have a first on the floor. We need a second. Do we have a second? I'll make a second. We have a first and a second. Can we take roll, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Roth?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 3-1.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And then once again, I really encourage everyone out there to, it's great. I mean, we get to learn a lot. You know, there's vacancies and there's so many other ways that we can continue servicing and volunteering our community. And I hope to see more people volunteering. And so thank you once again. Thank you. If you guys can wait, and I'll come down and shake your hand, say thank you personally. Next motion we have.
You want to suspend the meeting, or you want to?
We're going to do the oath.
Yeah.
So we're going to do the oath, and then right after the oath, we'll take a few minutes break, and then right after then we'll come back and close, and then we go to closed session. Adjourn the meeting, then we'll back to closed session. So don't go nowhere. We still got things to do. Okay. So just, okay, so just repeat after me. I,
I,
Jatinder Man,
Jatinder Man,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear
that bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance, and allegiance to the Constitution.
and allegiance to the Constitution
Okay, I'm going to repeat it again. Of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, the Constitution of the United States and the State of California,
of the Constitution of the State of the United States and California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will
well
and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Next time, can I get bigger font? Thank you. So right now, we'll take a 5-minute recess for you guys, if you guys want to take pictures, and then we got to go back to the dais, and then we got to adjourn the meeting, and then we got to go back to closed session. So we have 5 minutes.
gonna call him in 2
All right, we're coming back from break, and so now we're just going to adjourn the regular meeting, and then we're gonna head over to closed session, and then we'll come back to report, hopefully soon.
Mr.
But-
Mayor,
Oh, yes, go
we
ahead.
need to formally roll call Mr. Manian. Yeah, because we need to call a roll call for him to be in.
All right, so before we adjourn, we're gonna need to take roll call.
Roll call. Councilmember Roth.
Present?
Councilmember Soto.
Present.
Councilmember Mann.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra.
Present?
Mayor Moran.
Present.
For the record, all council members are in attendance.
Thank you. All right, so we are going to adjourn this meeting at 10:10. And we'll go to closed session, and hopefully you guys wait for us. Bring some coffee. All right, okay, good night.